David Conley Boxing TV. I'm joined here with the one and only Billy Nelson. Billy, how are you?
I'm fine, mate. How are you?
Good. Happy New Year to you.
Likewise, thanks.
So, what we're going to do here today, with this channel, we're trying to give a wee bit of value to our viewers for any up and coming boxers and trainers. So we're going to go a wee bit deeper in your own personal experiences, what it means to be a trainer, what involvements it is to be a trainer and stuff. So how did you become a trainer in the first place?
Well, I had an amateur career, and my amateur trainer was Peter Harrison. But for the age of about 16, I was always in the professional boxing gym with Peter Harrison, and we had at that time amateurs and professionals trained together more often than what they do now. And I had an amateur career, and when I was about 27, 28, Peter Harrison asked me to be his assistant trainer when Scott Harrison was just about to turn over, and we had a stable of boxers, a real good strong stable of boxers, and I took it from there. I mean, Peter Harrison is a legend in Scottish boxing. You know, in my opinion, the best, the most knowledgeable man in boxing ever in Scotland.
So, how long were you with him as an assistant for then? Was it just you and Peter?
It was just me and Peter. The whole of Scott Harrison's career until it got into that trouble happened in Spain. His whole boxing, his whole professional boxing career, and then it must have been about 9 years, and then Peter decided to off the bat decided to go for the Scotland amateur job, and came into the gym one day and told the boys that I would be taking over training the boys, which was as much a shock for me as it was.
What was the thinking behind that? Why did they do that? Did they tell you? Or?
No, I think it was quite apparent that Scott was unfortunately going to go to jail, and you know, and I think Peter was just taking over, but looking to stay in the sport that he loves and get, you know, he was getting a half decent salary doing that, because I had worked with Peter and Kerr, and he went to join the Scotland team.
So is that where did you get a lot of the style that you've got now as a trainer for Peter, or?
Oh, very much so. That was my grounding, very much so, and just going around all the gyms. I've been in many gyms in England, and you just pick up bits and bobs and try and you see if they would any it would be could get implemented into your own work, and you get your own thoughts on boxing as well. So I've done well.
What so to become a trainer, what badges, courses do you need? Obviously you need experience, but what do you need sort of officially?
You need to apply to a British Boxing Board of Control. For a seconds licence, I don't think you can apply straight for a trainer's licence. I'm not sure if you can or not, actually.
So how did you go about it?
Well, that's the way I done it.
Settings?
I was a second to Peter Harrison for a long time, and then I took out my trainer's badge.
And is that the way you would, you know, tell anybody to do it?
Well, aye, but far too many people are getting a trainer's licences. Guys, and you know, some guys couldn't train you across the road.
Would you say that should be like a stipulation with the board, something like you've got to be a second or something for so many years to gain experience?
Undoubtedly, you need that experience in the corner. You need to be. I was very fortunate. I had Peter Harrison looking after me and learning for Peter. But someday, I mean, somebody could be an amateur trainer for 6 months and go and get a pro licence now. And I think that could be detrimental to a boxer's not only career but his health.
Aye, 100%. Why do you think there's nothing like that in place?
I've no idea. That's it's a stipulation of British Board of Control need to, well, in my opinion, look at.
So who was in the stable then when it was you and Peter? Who did you have in there?
We had Wally Limond, Alec Arthur, Kenny Anderson, Scott himself. I can't remember this. A couple of young boys.
Basically the best about in Scotland then, really, at that time?
Well, because Peter was the best.
Aye.
It's just, you know, there's no ifs, buts or maybes. He was the best trainer about at the time, by far.
So, who was your first boxer out on your own when Peter decided to go?
Well, I took over those boys. My first fight as a sole trainer was Wally Lemon versus Amir Khan.
Was that your first fight, was
so
it?
there's a baptism of fire, and well, you all know what happened. I mean, Wally got robbed in that fight. The referee couldn't count up to 9 and then out. It's no 10 and out. It's no 12 and out or 8 and get up.
Aye.
That was. I thought, in more than Coverty's Selling Glory, Wally, it's the only time I've ever heard a challenger getting a rematch in the fight. If Wally won that fight, it was to give him a rematch.
Aye.
Unbelievable, but there we go.
Do you, when you're training a boxer, do you learn for the boxer as well as you obviously training them and stuff, but do you learn certain traits or different styles for the boxers themselves?
1,000,000% you learn off boxers. And you me personally, try and implement something that I've learnt for one boxer, and maybe that would suit that style of boxer, maybe it would suit another style of boxer, and try and implement it into their work all the time. People with big boxing IQs like Alec Arthur, fantastic boxing IQ. Paul Weir, magnificent. Scott Harrison, great. Ricky Burns, although he's a very quiet guy and a dead, kind of shy guy, his boxing brain's up there with the best of them, as is Wally Lemons. Wally Lemons, some great fighters.
Well, the two of them have went out on their own coaching now. Are you looking forward to seeing how they got on?
Oh, very much so, aye. But those, I know both their characters. Aye. And boxers have got to be boxing coaches have got to be very selfless people. People.
It's not it's a you're spread thin, aren't you? It's
oh, very much, because I mean
it's a tough game.
At the beginning you're not doing it to earn a living, that's for sure. I mean, I worked for probably 18 of the 23 years that I was still being a coach. It's only now I'm very lucky that I don't really need to work now.
Aye. So you making a living for boxing now full time, or?
More or less, aye. More or less.
Good. So touching on who you've trained then, do you have a say in who you're going to train now? So you're out on your own now. Do boxers come to you, or do you go and how does it work? How do you pick who you're going to train?
Well, I'm very selective in who I train. I've asked Lewis Ritson to come and train me because I recognised his talent when he came up and sparred Ricky Burns. He was one person I asked to train, and that's really, I think, all I've ever asked if they want to come.
The rest came to you?
The rest came to me. Got in touch with me one way or another through a manager or directly through social media or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So say you've got a team, right? So say you had Scott, Willie, Kenny and Alex Arthur. Somebody else comes and they're not going to fit in. Even no matter how talented they're not coming in, or how does it work?
No, you can't have one bad apple.
Mm-hmm.
Spoil them, and it's happened, and I've got rid of them.
Aye. So did they have a good dynamic? The first squad of people you had, Willie and Scott.
But I was fortunate enough that I'd been working with them for quite a wee while previously, and I knew that I could do what it says in the tin, and I wouldn't be detrimental to their careers. I would bring their careers on.
Mm-hmm. Who was that's some talent right there. Who would you have picked like the best out of all them? Who?
There's different things. I mean, for pure toughness, you'd be hard pushed to beat Scott Harrison. For dedication in the gym, Ricky Burns, David Brophy. All round talent, Martin McCauley is just fantastic, and I've just got a new boy for Kazakhstan just a couple of weeks ago. Oh my God, this guy is absolutely brilliant. He's absolutely fantastic.
What's his name, Billy?
Zoltan Zubrek. He's a super featherweight. He's ranked number 8 in the WBA. What a fighter!
So we'll be sure to see him just shortly then. You got a date around, or you just start the training stage now?
I got news today, potentially 2 dates. So
soon.
End of February, beginning of March, and He's got to fight before Ramadan because he's a.
Oh, right. So, is in the sort of training aspect to it, do you who do you who's close to you that you talk shop with, you know, other trainers and stuff like that, or?
I don't really. The only two people I've ever asked for advice. One was Peter Fury, and one was just a single question. I only asked him once. Was Jimmy Tibbs.
What was the question? I'm curious.
That'd be unfair.
No worries.
It was just and it was what I thought, to be quite honest.
Right.
But I just asked his opinion because he's a man I've got the utmost respect for. Jimmy Tibbs, he's done everything.
Mm-hmm. So, what about when you go sparring and stuff like that? Do you talk to other trainers about like different styles or stuff like that, or do you just go in, do your sparring, and then that's it?
Do your job and get good rounds in, hopefully quality work, and get your fighters ready for the fights. One person that I've always admired was Scott Quigg. I used to go down there and spar him down in Joe Gallagher's gym, and I'm one of these guys. Even if you're the guy you're sparring does a good bit of work, I'll applaud it or say, you know, good shot, so on and so forth. And he said to me after the spar, he says, "You're the only person all the years that's came to the gym," he says, when I've done a good bit of work, you compliment it. He says, and I thank you for that. He says, there should be more like you.
Mm-hmm.
That's very nice.
But it speaks more volumes for you, I suppose, doesn't it, that you're complimented.
Well, why should you not be?
No, I agree with you, 100%. What do you look for in a fighter, Billy? Is there certain attributes, talents, or do you think that you can mould them to a certain way, or has there got to be something in them first?
You've got to work with them for a wee while to realise their strengths and their weaknesses, and you try and work harder on their weaknesses. And sometimes the guys with the good IQs pick up very quickly, and the guys that take a wee bit longer take a wee bit longer. It's just the way it is, just like any form of education, and it's lifelong education.
Aye.
You know, I'm the teacher, they're the learner.
What's who has been the most talented for like natural ability? Would you say?
Martin Bacola.
Bacola, aye.
Unbelievable. What he's done to guys in Britain is frightening.
What age is Martin now?
He was 30 on the 1st of yesterday.
Was he, aye? So he's still, for a heavyweight, he's still got a good few years then.
He's done May miles.
I know, he's not.
Apart from the Hunter fight, which shouldn't have happened if I'd have known what happened 2 days before the fight, nobody's came close to beating him.
What did happen in that before it?
Okay, it was a major family issue that was unreal. I didn't know until the Sunday, so
Till after it.
I would have definitely 100% pulled the fight.
Pulled it.
Oh, 100%.
See, do you have no problem if anything like that would happen again, or pulling a fight matter? Obviously there's big financial implications and stuff like that. No problem, just pull a fight.
Money's secondary importance.
Mm-hmm.
The boxer's career comes first.
If you get a fighter early in their career, you've got lots of potential. How much can you plan, and how much do you play it by ear in boxing? You know, like, obviously you can have a plan in place, but boxing's, you know, up and down. How much do you actually plan? Let's say Martin, for example. Do you have like, we want to do this by the end of this year or whatever? How do you go about that?
Well, I'm in a very strong position now. I've managed. When Martin met me 3.5-4 years ago, he was number 132 in the world. He's number 1 now in the world. Well, he's number 2, but there's no number 1. Mm-hmm. So in theory, he's number 1. And we're in a very strong position. We can start asking for things that you probably wouldn't have asked for maybe 2 years ago, because you were going with cap in hand.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see, I mean, the amount of promoters and people that have got in touch with me, even yesterday, two people yesterday with fight offers and contract offers, you know, coming to me, and I'm talking about a lot of money.
So that's.
But
is that just because of the number 1 status then, or? But
they'd realise when he went and beat the Olympic gold medalist, the world champion, amateur in Paris. How many British boxers, heavyweights, in your opinion, would have went over to Paris and fought him?
Not many, no.
Well, he went over there and they just beat him. You know what he done to him, and still try to rob us. Somebody get that a draw, but it's just scandalous.
Aye, that is. touching on that referees and stuff, is that something you would change in boxing?
Referees?
Aye. Or the way that there's no sort of accountability for their decisions, stuff like that, or do you think it should be sort of, it's their opinion and that's it, or?
Well, they are accountable. I mean, the British Boxing Board of Control do take them in and ask them to explain.
Publicly, but it's not like a...
Well, that's kind of, in some cases, try to have them hung, drawn and quartered into it.
Aye.
That's a public execution in some cases. Some people make mistakes. What I don't like is if you and I were fighting and somebody gave you it by 6 rounds, a judge gave you it by 6 rounds and another judge gave me it by 5. How can that be? That differential is so far apart. It's 11 rounds.
Aye.
That's so far apart, it's unreal.
I used to give judges a hard time until I started scoring the fights myself. Sometimes I'll watch the same fight 2 or 3 times in a row and score it differently, you know what I mean?
You might score it differently, but as long as the right person gets the right result.
There's
been some bad results.
There has been, there have been a few recently, I know, wasn't there?
Very much so.
Good few recently. Right, let's talk about sparring. How do you go about getting sparring for, say, Martin? So say he's got a big fight coming up. Do you just go in and let the wee black book, or do you look at the style, who's going to fight, or talk me through that?
First and foremost, if I've got a name who I'm fighting, or if I'm fighting another, I'll watch him on YouTube. 9 out of 10 times I'll know who the guy is, and try and get sparring to suit accordingly. How you go about that is, first and foremost, you should contact the manager to ask him for sparring. If I'm perfectly honest, 9 out of 10 times when Martin spars, we get asked to go and spar because he was the up and coming guy, and they know he's very good and they'll get good rounds with him and they'll get him ready for his fight. I mean, look at the list of people he sparred: Chisora, Joe Parker, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Daniel DeBow.
Sparred it.
Not one of them. Well, Tyson Fury was the hardest spar, but none of the other guys could say that they really got a better sparring.
What do you take for sparring, Billy? Do you work on, I know coaches do it differently, they'll maybe work on a certain aspect, or is it just to get the rounds in and get...
Primarily work on our game plan for the fight against whoever it is, and just get the sharpness there for the fight, you know.
Staying on sparring, how often should boxers spar?
Well, I tend to do it 3 times a week. Maybe 4 weeks before a fight, sorry.
Just 4 weeks, aye?
Aye, and in a lot of cases, I'm kind of contradicting myself when I'm saying it now, because I've got Zoltan sparring now, but I want to see his style more from my own eyes and see what I've got to improve and what things we can work on. And there's a few things I've identified already, and I've explained to him what I'm looking for him to do. We sit in here and watch it on the telly as well, and I explain to him what I'm asking him to do. It's all done through the telephone interpreter thing.
Oh, does he not speak English?
He speaks a little English, but I mean, it's amazing that his English is better than Mark Kazakhstan, right? But when you're on the pads, very rarely do you... He knows where the pads are and he knows what to hit and the combination that come off it. It's boxing.
Aye.
It's like telepathy, isn't it?
So, on you're saying 4 weeks, so I take it's just hard sparring, just in game plan sparring. It's not. Do you do technical or body sparring or anything like that, or certainly not with heavyweights anyway?
No, there's nobody big enough to. No, in Scotland anyway, it's sparring Martin with body sparring. 5 weeks before the fight, we'll spar for 4 weeks. Get a couple of 10-rounders in there, and they should be plenty sharp enough. If they're super sharp, I'll miss a sparring. Just take them on the pads. I remember when I trained John Simpson for the Martin Lindsay fight. He peaked too early. I gave him 3 days off. He couldn't believe it. 3 days off, 2 weeks before the fight, and he came back. We went again. He just got there too quick.
Aye. So is that your experience now?
That's as much my fault.
Aye.
Well, it was my fault. So we remedied it, gave him a couple of days off, and what a performance he gave. That was one of my proudest moments, because John Simpson was hard done by in boxing.
He was a tough guy,
tough
man.
guy, but some shocking results.
Aye.
He got talking about bad judging.
Mm-hmm.
Great wee guy. David Brophy going over to Australia, beating the world number 5 Robin. No, just beating him, but stopping him.
It was
That was a fantastic result. 10-1, I'm led to believe they got for David Brophy.
Not that you would know, Billy. I heard you didn't like it, gamble.
It was a rumour. However, the house is paid for.
What involvement a trainer has in a fight taking place? How does it work regarding the promoter, manager, stuff like that? Break it down.
A promoter will get in touch with the boxer's manager, who in turn gets in touch with the boxer and coach first and foremost, and then I generally discuss it with the boxer, or they ask my advice, and then you either say yay or nay.
Who, if you don't like the fight, do you say that to the boxer and they ultimately have the decision, or do you?
Ultimately, the boxer will have the decision, but I'd like to think
They're a boxer, they'll fight anybody, won't they?
Well, they will, but they should listen to your wealth of experience. I mean, an excellent manager was Alec Morrison. He always used to phone me and say to me, listen, I've been offered this one for Ricky Burns, what do you think? And I'd have a wee look, and I'd give Alec my opinion, and you know.
So has there any fights not went ahead because you've not liked it? You've not wanted to go that way, or?
There was 1 or 2 fights I didn't want, and the boxer took it because of financial reasons.
Right, and did it not work out?
Neither of them.
So you were right.
I was right, but it doesn't mean you don't. You still give 100% to the boxer, obviously. But you know.
Is there an atmosphere in camp in that because he?
Not at all.
No,
no.
you just got on with your job and.
I'd like to say you can't not give 100%. If you don't, you're not doing your job, and it wouldn't be right with it.
Mm-hmm. You touched on management there. I know you've managed some fighters. Who have you managed?
I've only managed a handful of fighters. Jason Easton. I managed Lewis Ritson for a short spell. Mark Bacoli. I'll be managing Zoltan, Zubrek. That's about it, I think.
What's the difference between the two roles? Well, there's obviously a big difference, but do they kind of amalgamate into one, or is there a big difference between the two roles? How do you?
The difference has been a manager, I like pain in the arse. People try to backstab you, and there's a lot of dogs in this game. Dogs. People who shouldn't be in the game. You know, they've no right to be in the game. They're stealing a living.
Aye, in it for the money rather than the.
You know what I mean?
The fighter's benefit.
But you just try and. I like to think I get on. I do get on with all the top promoters. But I tell them the truth, and sometimes the truth no seen as I'm not a nodding dog. Let's put it that way. I left we never left Matchroom. We left 258 because we were unhappy the way we were treated.
That was with Martin.
With Martin, something happened that I'll no go into details with, and it cost Martin a lot of money. It cost him a fight, and I wasn't supposed to know what happened, and I found out what happened, and I questioned it, and they said we did do that. I'm like, but you had no right doing that. You forget, you're an advisor. They were an advisor, and they work for us. We don't work for them. They work for us, and they asked for something that we never asked. That we agreed on something, and they asked for something that we never agreed on, and that fight got scrubbed. Which a week before the fight, I got pulled, and it cost me personally £5,000 in training fees. Me myself. And it was during COVID, and it cost Martin 5 figures.
See, on that, can that make life difficult? Say a promoter, and you're not a nodding dog, you don't, say you're not a yes man, you don't say yes. Can that be detrimental to fights in the future and stuff like that?
Potentially, aye.
Do you have a good relationship with most promoters?
Aye. Now, however, after we left 258, our contract simultaneously ran out with Matchroom, and Matchroom never even had the decency to pick up the phone and say we're not renewing your contract. So we went and signed for another promoter. And within 5 minutes of it getting announced on social media, 258 were on the phone. You know, what we went and signed with them for. What do you think?
It's crazy, isn't it?
Treat people like dogs.
Aye, exactly.
If you shouldn't treat people with dignity and respect. Answer a phone when the phone goes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How can you continually phone somebody and they don't answer, but they can text you back within 30 seconds? That's just rude. Ignorance breeds contempt.
It makes you wonder. See, if you're outside looking in, when you're not privy to a lot of the knowledge. You wonder why a lot of fights don't get made and that. But there's money. People are too greedy, aren't they? A lot of people.
Oh, listen, I've been inundated with people for Martin, right? There was some we knocked back a contract that would have made for a free fight deal was over $1 million. Because the remainder of the contract we weren't happy with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I thought I would have jumped at a chance at signing for this promotional contract, but the second, third and fourth year you'd be sitting in your backside most of the time. A happy fighter's an active fighter. I'm not talking about at Martin's level fighting 5 times a year, but you need to be at least fighting 3 times a year. No, even as a world champion, I'd like to. When he wins the world title this year, I want to fight 3 times a year. I know it's difficult because of the vast amount of money that heavyweight world champions earn, but you're better off fighting and earning something than sitting your tail doing nothing.
I've never understood that inactivity. You know, when there's opportunities out there, it's cherry picking almost.
There's loads and loads. I mean, listen, massive. There's loads and loads of fights out there for heavyweights. There's the amount of fighters that have said no to Martin to fight him is embarrassing. You know what I mean? And I had to laugh at Michael Hunter saying on Twitter the other day, about a week ago, he says, "Oh, Martin Bacoli refused to fight me on the 21st of January. The fight was never offered to you, Michael. The fight was never offered to you, and I know the fight was never offered to you. But come and tell us why you refused to fight in October, November, and December."
Talking about money there, can you, I hope you don't mind me asking this question, not how much, but how does a trainer get paid? Is that a set percentage, and is that a kind of across the board for all trainers?
It's 10%. That's all a boxing coach is allowed. 10%. That's in the rules of the British Boxing Board of Control. However, if you're making vast amounts of money, I suppose like Tyson and Anthony Joshua, they would probably come in agreement with a coach. But if they were men at all, they'd pay the guy 10%, because maybe no in their case, certainly it was with AJ's case with Robert McCracken, but if you brought them for day one when they were earning £1,200, and you were earning £120, and you were in the gym from the whole year round earning maybe £360 a year, you would be on what's the minimum rate? £10 an hour and £9 an hour. Well, you'd be on about. I worked it out one time. I trained a guy for 4 fights, and what I earned in a year I only based it on an 8-week training camp. The amount of time I spent in the gym, the amount of time you spent on bandages and tape and petrol, and I don't think
you covered your car. You're out of pocket.
Nowhere near cover. But that's not what you're in it for. It's that getting that boy through those first 4 fights in the first year, building them up to 12-0, 14-0, trying to improve them, get them to a title level, and then if they're as loyal as what you are, you go for titles, and then you maybe get a wee tickle at it.
What, so how does that work then? Would the boxer get paid off the promoter and then the boxer's got to pay you, or is that all sort of stipulated in the contract that you...
Again, a promoter should pay the manager pays the boxer.
And then the boxer pays you?
But and when I was the only manager that's ever paid me was Alec Morrison. He done it the right way. Every other time boxers just pay you.
And does that always work out alright?
Well, unfortunately, a couple of times I've not been paid. And one was not a professional boxer. It was Big Thorby Johnson when he fought Eddie Hall. Neither of the boxers get paid their $1 million purses.
They didn't get paid?
No, and I've not been paid, and I was away for 4 months.
Wow.
3 months in Iceland and a month in Dubai, and neither boxer's been paid.
So who covered all the costs just alone? Did you have to cover all your own? Did he cover the costs?
I covered the costs of me going to Iceland, him coming here. Well, no covering costs coming here obviously, but he paid for an Airbnb when he was here. Flights, hotels, all down to Thor. It was terrible. A shocking experience for him. And he's quit boxing because of it, and he was doing really well. He was coming on leaps and bounds.
That's because I seen that fight actually. I was quite impressed. Yeah, he had come on quite a lot, hadn't he?
100%, aye.
I wouldn't like to take a dig off him.
No.
Did him and Martin ever spar? I know obviously different levels, but did they have a...
Aye, maybe move a bit. It was quite funny. Martin was over in the Ukraine sparring Usyk for the first fight with Anthony Joshua, and he was on the same card as Thor in Dubai, and when he came over to Dubai, Thor says to me, "Could I have a wee move about with Martin?" And I started laughing. I says, "You would have hit him with a bag of rice." And he says, "I'll bet you $1,000 I hit him in the first round." I says, "I'll bet you $1,000. So he's went in and sparred the first round. He came back in the corner and says, "All your $1,000.
Is that right? Is that he had? I was well impressed, but he had come on quite a lot.
He came on leaps and bounds when I first met him.
It's a shame he had that experience. Is there no chance of getting their money now? Are they?
Well, I know the promoter has sued the TV company, won the case, froze their bank accounts, and they've obviously moved them.
Oh, they just closed, shut everything down.
I think it's shut up. And one of the shareholders in the company, I think he's got something like 30 million tied up in the company.
Wow.
So I don't know how it'll go. Well, certainly, I don't foresee us getting the money now. That was March.
Aye.
It would be nice, mind you. It would be nice.
A big wee bonus, wouldn't it?
Bonus.
Good wee
It
bonus.
wouldn't happen.
So, touching on that, that's obviously a wee negative. What's been your highlights and your low points in boxing? Start with the highlights.
I've got many.
I know you've got a few.
I've got a lot. I mean,
talk us through a couple of them.
John Simpson winning at King's Hall over in Belfast, winning the British title outright. It doesn't have to be a world title fight, you know what I mean? Obviously I had great success with Ricky Burns. David Brophy was like a son to me. Going over to Australia and beating Zach Dunn in the 7th round over in Melbourne. That was a fantastic experience. Ricky Burns won it. The first fight that when he beat Roman Martinez, that was as if the whole of Colt Bridge was in the Kelvin Hall that night. The taps were off and it was hilarious. It was just bonkers.
That's a sight.
I mean, the Colt Bridge boys have got a reputation, they're all bucky, and I think a few bottles of Buckfast had been swallowed before they went in there that night. It was a fantastic night, and I was over the moon for big Alec Morrison as well, to be quite honest, because he's done a lot for Scottish boxing, and he never had a world champion, and at that time I think I had trained the British champion for him and the world champion.
What about low points?
Ricky Burns leaving us.
Do you talk to Ricky now, or did you fall out, or how?
No, I never fell out, no, but he's got his life and I've got my life, and if Ricky came to my door, he'd be coming in, sit down and have a chat. Oh, of course he'd be welcome, aye, but he's got his life, It was a bit disappointing because I chucked a very good job to be his full-time trainer, and he came into my old house and just said, I'm going to try something different, but Eddie Hill was behind it. 100%.
Do you think so?
Aye, because when I went down to England to spar one a guy, he came up and spoke to Ricky Burns. But I'm not the first guy he's took away for a trainer.
And what, any other low points?
I've been very lucky. I think I've had just over 200 professional fights, and I think I've lost 9.
Is that what your record is, Billy? Aye.
No.
Wow. That's quite good.
I've not lost a fight since 2018.
Is that right? Is that Hunter? The Hunter fight?
That was the last defeat I've been involved in.
Many fights has Martin had under you?
I think it was 7-0 when he came to me, and he's 18-1 now. So.
Is that the many he's had, really?
And you know that she only had 2 fights in 2 years due to COVID. That would have been more, but.
So what, have you got a fight date for Martin yet?
Today I've been offered 2 fights, and I'm in talks with another person for another fight, which is probably going to be his next fight. But today I got offered 2 fights from him. Well, there's an offer
for the one date kind of thing, or like
a different date. Well, 3 different promoters have offered me fight. Two
right.
today, and one that I've been speaking to for quite a wee while now. And it's took way too long, but it's the best. It's the best all-round package in my opinion.
So we should hopefully hear something quite
but
soon.
It's funny how they all come out
At the one time.
Aye.
Like a bus catching an eye.
They come at once.
Right, here's a question for you. Take politics out of the equation, right? If there was a heavyweight Muhammad Ali trophy, top 8 heavyweights, who would be in the competition?
Just now?
Right now.
Obviously, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Higovich, Martin McCauley, Joe Joyce, Jared Anderson.
Dillian White out of the equation.
He's on his way down. He is on his way down, no matter what he's hit. Well, but you could put him in.
What about Hunter?
Michael Hunter's a very good fighter. He could go in. There could be another couple of fringe guys like Frank Sanchez. He's
Dubois? Still a bit to go.
Aye, definitely. Martin McCauley will take him to school.
There's been talk of that in there. Well, social media talk.
He's a regular champion. If Tyson or Usyk, whoever wins in that fight, will give up the super champion.
We forgot Usyk. There's the other one.
Well, Martin stopped him as well, hasn't he? In sparring.
Has he? Aye.
Sparred him as well. Sparred him over in the Ukraine. Sparred him in Dubai.
So who comes out of that competition on top? Martin?
No, Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury.
He's just a wee bit, he's just that wee bit better.
Aye.
Most of them.
His skill levels. I'm not saying Martin's not skillful, but
if they were on the opposite side of the draw, Martin would fight him in the final. I would say Martin will beat anybody in the world now.
Usyk included, aye.
He'll beat Usyk. Usyk knows he'll beat him.
Is that right? Aye. So there was.
It's how you fight Usyk. It's no.
Aye.
You can't fight the way Anthony fought him. Slow feet. Indecisive.
He was torn between 2 styles, wasn't he? It was a funny one. Obviously, the first one he got completely wrong, but it was a bit tighter the second fight,
You've got
wasn't
3 coaches telling you
Aye.
different things. I believe if I was his coach, if I was Robert Garcia, the last fight, nobody would be in the corner. Your team would be in the corner. To me, that's there for the money. You're doing that job for the money. You're a nodding dog, aren't you? If the boxer can't respect you, you know what I mean. If they can't accept your gym rules and house rules, there's the door.
So that's never going to happen in your gym, and you wouldn't be teaming up with anybody or anything.
I've had one fallout with one guy, and he's one of my best mates in boxing, and it was and it's quite a funny story. It was Big Stephen Simmons. He threw it. The Sky TV cameras and all that were in, and we had a fall at the gym because he'd done something, and we fell out for about about 6 months. He went to another trainer, Big Danny Vaughan, had a few years with Danny, and then came back to me, and I tell you, I was pissed myself laughing about it. I only wish, in hindsight, we were a bit more mature about it, and we talked about the differences that day, and he stayed with me because I think he underachieved as a fighter. Although when he did come back to me, he won the European WBO title.
That's right, aye. He was, I used to see him when he was down your gym with Brophy and that.
Aye. Two characters, man. Two of the nicest guys you could...
Still keep in touch with Brophy?
Oh, my pal, my big mate.
Brophy's a nice guy. I'm hoping to get him on soon.
You better get a widescreen camera. The lugs he's got.
So Bacoli and Fury in the final then. Right, nearly there, Billy. One last question. What would you change in boxing? We touched on referees, but anything else you would change in boxing?
The people who I get... Well, they're not even getting licences. These people are agents. And have got too much to say for themselves. Who have never had a pair of gloves on in their life, and they're filling people's heads with broken balls, broken promises. The board really need to look at it. But for you to be in a boxing ring, the professional boxing ring, you need to be a licence holder. And all these people are getting in, and do you know what they want? They want notoriety on a camera, being seen. Slagging boxers, they're slagging boxers, giving boxers a hard time, and people in boxing a hard time. They've done fuck all in boxing. I mean, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. And one or two people, when I see them the next time I see them, I'll be telling them to their faces. You know what I mean? Because I've been a bit condescending towards me, so they were getting told, and my boxers, they were getting told face to face rather than, they know who they are. And I will see them.
Stay out his way.
No, I will see them. I will see them face to face.
So, kind of what we said about being a boxing trainer in the first place, that there should be like a, like a 5 year. You should be a second man, settings or whatever. There should be something similar in place to be a promoter or to be a, involved in boxing. There should be some sort of apprenticeship.
All you need to be a promoter is a £10,000 bond. As far as I'm led to believe, I could go and apply with 10 grand, get the board, and become a promoter tomorrow. But in fairness to promoters, it's a thankless job. It's a hard job. So many boxers have a go at promoters, for no letting them. I mean, ticket deals. Let's just talk about ticket deals. Ticket deals are not allowed in British boxing. The board don't allow it. Everybody does it. You know what I mean? I know there's promoters in Scotland, a promoter in Scotland. If you don't do the tickets, you don't get fighting. And I've seen or heard about fighters being pulled the day before the fight because they can't cover their person and the opponent's person, or at least the opponent's person. I had a boxer come up for Cheshire, I think it was, sparring Ricky Burns. It was a fucking good fight. It was 14-1. And he was chatting away, he says, I really appreciate you giving me a sparring and paying me for sparring. He said, because I've not been paid for, he says, my last 5 fights. I says, what do you mean you've not been paid? He says, I'm on a ticket deal, he says, and I barely cover the opponent's wages. He says, and I don't get paid. I says, that's disgusting.
That is disgusting.
What promoting does a promoter do then? Not,
Aye, they're basically wanting the fighter to promote themselves.
If the fighter doesn't sell tickets, if they don't do tickets, they don't get on.
Aye, I think behind the scenes stuff is probably something I would like to change. That
and the politics as well. The politics. I mean, it's opened my eyes. It's opened my eyes. Being the manager, Martin Bacoli, the amount of people, seriously, liars and dogs that are in boxing, it's fucking frightening.
I think you see it probably more at that heavyweight division because of the money involved in it.
I tend to do a wee bit of moaning out loud in the gym, and one of my fighters says to me, boxing's a horrible sport, isn't it, Billy? I says, boxing's the best sport in the world. I says that some of the people that's in boxing,
Mm-hmm.
I says that, you know,
Aye, that's.
outrageous.
But it is the best. It's the best sport in the
And
world.
yet some of the majority, see 97% of the boxing fraternity, you couldn't meet nicer people.
Mm-hmm.
I was down at the British Ex-Boxers Hall of Fame. I was fortunate enough to be inducted as a trainer this year, and you couldn't have. It was like, see, if you're a boxing fan, it's a boxing fan, and I'm a boxing fan
Aye.
first and foremost. It's a boxing fan's dream. All these people there, and they're coming up, shaking your hand, wishing you well, telling each other stories, and all that. Nicer people you couldn't meet. But there's always, like any walk of life, there's always that wee dog that's there.
Mm-hmm.
Not at that particular event, but in boxing,
Mm-hmm.
there's always one. It's the wee green-eyed monster, isn't it?
Aye. Aye, I think that would be the thing I would. But how do you get rid of it? You know, how do you get rid of that kind of thing?
People employ them, mate.
Aye.
People employ them. And I know people that went behind their employers' back and introduced fighters to other promoters for a finder's fee.
That's crazy, isn't it? Well, it's not. It doesn't surprise me, Billy. It doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Crazy. Right, anything else you want to add before we go, Billy?
No, I just like to say, I like Scottish boxing. I'd like more public shows in Scotland. I'd like the promoters. I think it's just really down to Ian and Sam now to do more public shows and try and get the fighters. I mean, like I say, it is very difficult. Boxers blame promoters for not getting them on that, but it's very difficult promoting. People think these promoters make fortunes. They don't.
Mm-hmm.
See these shows, they make next to nothing. And I'm sure if Ian Wilson wasn't as a successful businessman as he is with his company, he wouldn't be a boxing promoter.
Mm-hmm. I think there's easier ways to make money on there.
No, there's that. But sometimes boxers forget first and foremost it is a business, you know, and sometimes you just got to play with the cards you're dealt with.
See, just a quick one. Boxers kind of touched on like, needing to promote themselves. What's your take on that about boxers and social media and all that? Do you think boxers could do more, or it depends on the character of the boxer?
See if a boxer puts it that if I'm fighting you and I put it on my Twitter and I put it on, I've not got any other social media, but if I put it on somewhere on social media and the word spreads, what more can you really do?
Mm-hmm. Aye.
Then put it out maybe every day. I'm fighting 1st of January this year. Come and watch me fight. You want tickets? DM me. Blah blah. What more can you do?
Aye.
But the onus is on selling tickets. Get your fans there. I mean, I've seen shows where the away fighters' records consist of between the 4 fighters, maybe 13 wins and 300 and odd losses.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to go and watch that? Because it's 3 winners or 4 winners versus 4 losers. You know what I mean?
Aye. I know. Do you think there could be more competitive as in when boxers are coming through and stuff?
I agree with gaining boxers maybe 5, 6, 7 fights, but some of them are getting dragged into 10, 11, 12,
Aye.
13 fights. See if a boxer is not going to get tested eventually, then you won't see when he eventually does get tested, he'll get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, get him wee steps up, and then another step up, and see how they're performing. Because you're better off getting found out then.
Aye.
Getting comatose against somebody that's really good.
I think a lot of boxers, I don't know if it's a Floyd Mayweather effect, but kind of want to protect their own a wee bit too much as well.
It's not just boxers, mate. It's not just boxers. It's the promoters. If
If
you've got a ticket seller that's doing 15 tables at a dinner show, or I mean, I had a boxer sold 100 £100 tickets for his debut.
Wow.
Right, and he cleared. What did he clear? I think he cleared £2,200 out of 10 grand. I know the opponent cost 1,500, So you're talking the promoters took home 6.5 grand, say? Does that
Aye.
seem fair to you? So for his second fight to his last fight with me, he got ticket deals.
It's aye.
But if you're a promoter and you're getting a guy bringing that's a lot of money for a wee public show or a dinner show, whatever the case may be.
And that's just one fighter.
That's
They
just
could-
one fighter.
aye.
But if you're bringing that kind of money in, you don't want that boy beat. They promote this. You know, so they'll give him substandard opponents to beat, look $1 million, and then people come watch him again. But what's detrimental to that happening is they're going to get stepped up,
Find
they're
out.
going to fight somebody, get fun out, and it happens all too often with Scottish fighters. Because when boxing trainers, I had a 15-year-old boy today. That's my pal's son. You know my pal, and his son was in Sparring Sultan today, who's number 8 in the world. Why not give him that experience? He's not going full pelt. You know, I explained he's 15-year-old young lad, very good fighter. But what an experience it was. He was buzzing today. Now why should they know? But some guys will just, I'm not putting him in my hand.
Aye.
How do you learn?
Aye, I don't understand it. I don't understand.
Ricky Burns would have sparred his granny to get rounds in. Anybody would have.
Aye.
Ricky Burns it was crazy, he was brilliant. He'd have
Ricky,
sparred anybody.
I was privileged to be in a couple of Ricky spars when you had the gym down Moss End, and he was frightening in sparring, wasn't he?
Unbelievable. Just, I think it coincided. Ricky started doing strength and conditioning with a friend of his, and he was doing it directly after sparring, and I seen a wee slight deterioration in his performances, because he shouldn't have been doing it straight after sparring. He should be doing it his day off or one day at the weekend. But you know.
Anything else then, Billy, before we finish up?
No, I'd just like to wish everybody a happy new year, and hopefully Josh Taylor does a business on March the 4th, flies a flag for Scotland. Lee McGregor's still doing well. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's on that show. I imagine he could and should be. And Scottish boxing has a good year. A couple of young up and coming fighters. Mark McEwen, who I've always admired as a wee fighter. I always thought his style would suit the pros.
Well, he's got the Celtic title, and then I think he's got the eliminator for the British.
Oh, is he good?
Aye.
And Nathaniel Collins, who
He's going to fight for the
who was up
British.
sparring the other day with Zoltan. He's a much better fighter than what I thought he was. I'd only seen wee clippets of him before.
Aye.
Much better, good wee fighter. Want to keep an eye on, and I hope I'm sure he's fighting Jimmy Beats Jr. for the British title.
British.
Well, there's a golden opportunity to win the British title, and I wish him well.
Brilliant. Well, Billy, thank you for taking the time to chat with us today, and wish you all the best in the new year, and Martin and Zoltan and the rest of the team. Good luck, mate. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. All the best.